Good morning, Dopey. Your favorite podcast. Now able to show.
Good morning, Dopey, and welcome to another exciting episode of Good Morning Dopey, our shallow yet often incredibly deep dive into the daily reflections. We are joined today by Dopey super friend, strung out author, and unlicensed advice columnist, Erin Carr. Erin, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm better this week than last week.
Are
Even
you
though the
super
world's falling apart.
Are you super pissed that Howie didn't cut you into the Good Morning Dopey montage?
That's so weird. I was just thinking that. I was like, I've done quite a few of these now.
More than all those people.
So, yeah, like I really should be in that montage.
Howie.
All right, you know what we have to do here? Here's what we have to do. Let's get a shot of Erin going.
She's
I
always
know.
laughing.
Okay.
I
Let's
think
get that
it's
shot.
so funny. Every like YouTube cover shot you have of me, I'm like I look like either like one of the Peanuts characters or like Janice from the Muppets.
I love that. All right, let's get there. Oh, there she is.
Are you going to
There
put
she
her
goes.
in?
All right, there. Now she's in.
You're
Yeah, I'll
gonna
redo
put
the intro.
What about Dopey Drez? You going to put her in? Amy Dopey
I
Drez
don't
Dresner?
remember.
She laughed her ass off. Who else has been?
You gotta
How about
text
my
me to remind
dad,
me.
Ray Brown? You only have these like the stars he puts in. He loves Jessica Kent, by the way.
I should have put in
I love Jessica
more.
Kent too. I think she's great.
That's
She's
not
a
the way
great
Howie.
guest.
That's not the way Howie loves her.
Yes, it is.
All
I
right.
figured, but
Today is March 7th. Yes, I mean we just did a bunch of daily reflections and we didn't talk about Ukraine at all, Howie. I blame you for that.
In the daily reflection, you're going to talk about Ukraine?
Well, today is March 7th. I'm going to ignore you. The key is willingness. All right, Erin? I hope you
Okay,
have some
got it.
tears ready in that face of yours. Here we
you
go.
know.
Oh, there you go. That's
Here we go. Once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock and have the door ever so slightly open, we find that we can always open it some more. The willingness to give up my pride and self-will to a power greater than myself has proved to be the only ingredient absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems today. Even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, is sufficient to allow God to enter and take control over any problem, pain, or obsession. My level of comfort is in direct relation to the degree of willingness I possess at any given moment to give up my self-will and allow God's will to be manifested in my life. With the key of willingness, my worries and fears are powerfully transformed into serenity. Now, before you say anything, Erin, I want to say that I love this thing. I think the only thing that ruins it is the word God, because God
Yes.
ruins things for people, even though it shouldn't. It's sad. But willingness, even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, is sufficient to allow whatever, God, capital G-O-D in the Daily Reflections, to enter and take control over any problem, pain, or obsession. In my opinion, just the willingness to not have the problem is the first piece of the whole thing.
I mean, I know we always joke that I get teary, but I got like teary as you were reading that because I think
Good.
about like, see, you're setting me up for these. I was thinking about like the second time I went to rehab was definitely my worst relapse of all the relapses, and I had many. That was the worst. That was the relapse where I was smoking a lot of crack, I was hallucinating, I had stolen things, jewelry from my mother, I had like defrauded, used fraud to like get money from like through Western Union. I mean, I did so many things that I hadn't done before, sold everything in my apartment. And that morning that I made the decision that like, I was like, I knew like either I was going to like walk to the roof of my building and jump, or I was going to ask for help. And the second that I picked up, my boyfriend at the time left to go pawn like the last guitar. We had been trying to get clean the day before through, this doctor who would give us pills to help us detox. he left, and I was just like, I just had that moment where I think, like, they talk about those moments in 12-step meetings where you like get on your knees. Like, I felt like I don't know if I actually did it, but I felt that feeling of like just dropping to my knees of like, I am willing to do anything to not be stuck here anymore. And it wasn't even so much conscious of being like, I don't want to use drugs, as much as like, there's only 2 exits out of this for me. And it was either like death or like get on my fucking knees and like ask for help and do whatever I'm told to do. I needed that. And it was about 24 hours before I had a friend pick me up, and then went to my ex-boyfriend's and stayed the night with him. And the next morning I told him, like, I have got to go back to rehab. I called my mom and told her, and I just remember going to the intake and like got to the like little detox ward of this behavioral health hospital in Pasadena, California. And as you know, Rick James was there. And
She was.
Met some of the people. He really was. I met some of the people there, and there were a lot of musicians there, because it was one of the places that like the Musicians Assistance Program helps get people placed, or did at the time. And the relief that I felt like even getting into bed that night, like totally in like on day 2 of a detox, like just physically so uncomfortable, but the sheer relief, because I had given up trying to do it my way. Because my way was like hiding it. My way was like trying to do it on my own and not tell anyone and just like go see this doctor and get pills. My way was continuing on and like thinking I could control it. And I just fucking couldn't. And, I think it's funny because when you said in the reading the God's will thing, I think that's a big problem for a lot of people. For me, it's just a word. But I just want to say to people, it's like when you like, I think of it as like, you don't have to like give up your will for God's will. It's just giving up holding on to this thing that just isn't fucking working. Because if it's working, you wouldn't be on your fucking knees like needing help, right?
I think it's interesting. Like I had a lot of things to say to what you just said, and I'm not going to say them because it'll derail us. But I think like the fact that they use God's will, and it undoes this chance for so many people just because those 3 letters are there. They're like, okay, well, if it's God's will, then I'm not doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Rather than all it has to be
Right.
is not your will and not your mom's will. You know what I mean? It has to be
Right.
just something that is not you. And then I have 2 questions. Number 1, did you cry just now a little bit? I think you were
Yeah.
crying.
Are you kidding? Yes.
But
yes,
more
I was
importantly,
crying. My eyes are still wet.
did Rick James do an acoustic version of Super Freak while you were there?
He did not. But the night that I
didn't?
checked in, no, in rehab,
I thought he had a guitar.
he did. What I was going to say is that there were Rick James and a couple of other people who were in there that night. Like, as I was still in the detox ward, and everybody else was like down in the little bungalows. That's the way this was set up. And it was Rick James and these other musicians. They were sitting on the porch of one of the bungalows kind of playing music. And I don't remember what they were playing, but
Would they play Hotel
I just
California?
remember.
Whenever I went to rehab, I would play Hotel California. I would play, what's that Mamas and the Papas song?
All the
California
leaves are
Dreamin'?
brown.
I would play California Dreamin'. I would play
So fucking
The
annoying.
Boxer.
Everybody's got to play music.
No, I was the annoying guy. And I wish I was there with Rick James. I would have played bow no no no.
They
They
had
be
there
fun.
were so many musicians there. We had a piano in like the little like meeting room too. But
great.
I think like when I think of like replace God's will with like a state of grace. Like to me, it's like we have
What does
moments
that
in
mean?
life. There's
What is a state
a
of
state
grace?
of grace means like letting go of the control that you don't have over how badly your life is going. A state of grace is like that moment where I picked up the phone and called somebody and said, I'm totally fucked up. I'm strung out. I've been up for days on crack, and my boyfriend's about to come back with a couple of balloons of heroin, and I have to get the fuck out of here. Like, that's a state of grace.
I'm telling you, like, language is such an impediment to recovery all the time. Because, like, you can hear all these things that don't make any sense. Like, still, even you saying a state of grace, I have no conception of what it means. And God, I was resistant to until someone told me that if I don't figure that out, I'm never going to get it. So like, it's funny, like the words, like it's the right word for the right person in the right moment is the whole thing. And it's like, it's very interesting, like how many people don't get well because the words aren't the right words and they don't hear them in the right moment.
Right. That's true. And I mean, that's one of the things that, like, you know, I mean, I know, like, I'm not in 12-step world anymore, but
You
a lot
certainly
of my
are not.
recovery is drawn from the 12 steps, and I understand why it works for people, and I understand
Does that
why
make
it
you a
doesn't work for
renunciate
people.
of the 12 steps?
No, but I'm not. I don't renunciate the 12 steps.
I like the
just
word
needed
renunciate.
a different path.
You know what I like?
What do you like?
Enunciate.
Enunciate?
Right.
Do you like to enunciate, renunciate?
Yes.
All right. Well, I think the key is willingness. That's what we're going to leave
Yes.
this with. If you can show willingness, you can get out of this. Aaron, I'm so glad you came in and cried and revealed a little bit. You reminded me of I haven't had you on the show and done this thing that I really want to do.
Uh-oh.
So that's coming soon.
Be careful.
Oh. Okay.
Remind me. I'm very excited.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Howie, do you have anything you want to add? Howie, show your dopey hoodie.
No.
Just do it.
It's covered by the mic. There you go.
Howie, show your dopey socks.
How can I show my socks? You can't see my
Show the socks.
Hold on.
Howie, show your dopey hat. Erin gives all the dopey shit I give her away.
That's not true. I'm wearing the socks right now.
Show the socks.
I just showed the socks. Showing the socks.
Wait, can you
All
see
right,
my foot?
Now take them off.
Wait,
Why?
you can't really see it.
Take off the socks.
You're horrible. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. What do you have to say? What are you about to say?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say one more thing.
Uh-oh.
Always one more thing. No, I was just thinking, like, to add to, like, the willingness thing, and, like, I think of, like, when I'm resisting sort of like the natural, like, flow of life, like whatever's coming into my path, I'm in pain. When I accept what's in the path and work through it, I'm not in pain. Even if I'm uncomfortable, I'm not in pain. And that's sometimes, like, when I think of, like, when
Say that
people have
again.
trouble
Say that
with
again.
it.
I'm sorry. I got
So
distracted.
if I'm going along in life and there's something that comes up, right? Like, shit happens in life. Like, something comes up. And if I am just trying to, like, go against it and, like, force how I want things to be, I'm in pain. Like, that's how I get in pain, right? And if I accept where the path is, or what's come up in the path, I find that life kind of naturally moves me around that detour, and I'm not in pain. So I
Right.
kind of think that's another way to look at, like, replace God's will with, like, allowing yourself to not fight against where the path in life is taking you. Like, allow yourself to kind of go with the flow, right? Like, that's a little bit of, like, Taoism in there too. This idea of, like, allowing yourself not to fight against the current of where your life is right now.
It's just the most incredible thing about it, because Howie and I were kind of talking about this exact thing earlier. It's like, it's such a mystical thing where it's like, go with the flow, do the next right thing, let the universe kind of guide you. Don't get in the way of this thing. Like, don't try to control something you can't control. It's like we were talking about obsessiveness, Howie, and like when I give up, but it's like, it's so much. It's so ethereal, right? And it's so it's hard. It's like to get in the zone of letting go and knowing that you're, like, what do you allow to happen and what is not okay to happen. It's just it's not that easy, but at the same time it is. But it's
simple. Once you do it, you're like, oh, this was actually really simple to do. It's
you let it
just
happen.
that, right? But there's so much. Unfortunately, the way that, like, our brains really work overtime at trying to maintain the picture we have of how we want things to be. Does that make sense?
Sure. As opposed to how they are, letting them be how they're supposed to. All right.
Yeah.
This was really This is really great, Aaron. And it's so funny to me because Aaron hated the daily reflections. She used to text me on a daily basis, like, what a waste of time.
This is BS.
Stop doing them.
Yeah.
All
I
that kind
never
of
said
stuff.
You should
that.
dye your beard.
You should dye your beard.
Yeah. Howie's taking over the show.
Howie's taking over the show. All that kind of
I heard.
stuff. I told Howie about the woman in Patreon Zoom. Aaron was there.
Yeah.
Was she my neighbor?
I was.
It was not.
I don't know.
But I don't know. Gee, I think next time you should come and you could stand up for yourself. Anyway, I think this was great. I mean, the irony is that Erin thought it was worthless, and yet she loves the Dopey, whatever this is, Good Morning Dopey Daily Reflection. You love this. You love the Daily
do.
Reflection. You love waxing philosophic.
I do. Okay, that I totally do. And I like to take them and reinterpret them in a way that isn't just 12-step specific.
Okay, dye the beard, yes or no?
No.
All right, stay strong, Dopey Nation. Fucking tutors for Chris. Thank you.
Dopey, I'm face down on the floor. Dopey, please sir, can I have some more? Dopey,